Welcome to another episode of Life and Whiskey. As always, I'm Jordan, and today we are going to look at this wheat whiskey by Dry Fly. Now, Dry Fly is a distillery out of Spokane, Washington. Had the benefit of living for a little while in Spokane right when Dry Fly was really starting to take off. Um, at the time, I wasn't super over the top impressed with what they had. It was right when I was getting into distilling. I went to Distillery University, got a certificate from them, volunteered with a distillery in town, worked with them. Tim Bender, unfortunately, no longer around. Actually purchased the distillery and was in the process of trying to start a distillery here locally when COVID happened, all that stuff, and the prices of property like rent went from 2,000 to 3,000. Land values went stupid, and so just couldn't afford it. So I actually ended up having to sell all the distillery equipment before I even got a chance to get going, which was unfortunate. But that was my connection to Spokane. Anyways, we found this bottle when we were up in Billings. Found it for $32.55. Up in Billings. So really reasonably priced. Fantastic bottle. We'll get into it in a second. What it is a wheat whiskey. So straight wheat whiskey means at least 51% wheat. I do not know what the mash bill is off the top of my head on this one. I did not look it up. Aged 3 years, 45% ABV, so a 90 proof whiskey, not bad there. And it's port barrel finished. And so my wife and I have been exploring finished whiskey recently, finding that we really, really like the port and sherry barrel finishes on pretty much everything. Doesn't really matter whether it's an Islay whiskey, a bourbon, a scotch, a rye. They all seem to really, really work out well for us. My wife really, really likes them. She actually found this bottle, picked it up, and the port that is in there is a Huckleberry port. Now, most people, if you don't live in the Pacific Northwest, so like Western Montana, Idaho, Oregon, Washington, up into Canada, most people don't really know or care about huckleberries. Basically, a huckleberry is related in, they might even be like genetically related, but similar to a wild blueberry in flavor, texture, color. That they're a purple berry. Maybe I'll grab some someday. I got some up in the freezer from when we lived in Montana. But they're a lot sweeter, and they don't really. I mean, they are definitely not a blueberry, but they're similar. And really, really love them. We make all kinds of stuff with them. And so these guys got their hands on some Huckleberry port barrels and finished this wheat whiskey in it. And I'll tell you what, even even my parents tried this and were impressed. And they, like, my mom would drink whiskey and just goes, that tastes like alcohol. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how fancy, how smooth, how well rounded and put together, how flavorful it is. She, like, any whiskey, hard alcohol. She doesn't like beer or anything like that. Wine is a different story. But she and my stepdad tried this, and man, they both thought it was really, really excellent. On the nose, it has a lot of bourbon characteristic to it. Um, so I get some dark fruit. I would not be able to pick it out as huckleberry specifically on the nose, but I get a dark fruit, kind of a jammy quality to it. Ethanol kind of comes out of the glass a bit. Very floral, like rye whiskey floral. I get some vanilla and caramel out of it. Especially at the top, I get a very sugar caramel from the top of the glass. But mostly just really dark fruit, raisin, plum kind of stuff. Like our dark blackberry or raspberry jam. very, very pleasant on the nose. And if you're watching these videos in sequence, I shot the video for the Remus, which I got a lot of the same notes out of. The Remus Repeal, I shot that, I don't know, several days ago. And so this is the first whiskey of this session today. And coming into this blind, and man, the fruit, just all sorts of yummy fruit and jam, just sugary sweet goodness. On the palate, very clingy to start with and then dries out at the finish. Very sweet forward with a little bit of an ethanol ding picking up towards the end of the first second or so. It was graham cracker, syrupy sweet, caramel, and then those jammy fruit notes coming through, like a strawberry, blackberry jam, kind of picked up in the middle there. It finished with like a little bit of like oak ding to it as it dried out. It was a very smooth, watery flowing. Like it was, some of the flavors were kind of thin and not super dense, but the entire flavor profile was dense, meaning that there was a lot of different flavors going on. I had a couple of thoughts run through my head, which kind of distracted me for a second there, so I wasn't able to really give you all the notes right away, but they were kind of going through really, really quick. But they were kind of thin, a little bit watery thin on the flavors themselves. But again, a 3-year-old whiskey, you know, you can only expect so much out of that. In the nose, just jam, and I honestly got a little bit of peanut butter out of that now. Dark caramel, brown sugar. That time was a little watery thin up front, dark, dense caramel into like a creme brulee kind of a thing with a little bit of dark jam in there. Then graham cracker. There's definitely some oak, a little bit of spice and oak on the finish, which is interesting. Wouldn't expect that. Ethanol is way tamped down on that one. Yeah, I mean, it's just a really, really interesting, large depth of flavor variety in there. Nice sweet notes. Soft on the palate, which is what you would expect from a wheat whiskey. Really decent for a 3-year-old whiskey, and one that was only $32.55. This definitely doesn't have the density of flavor that the Remus had. So like it has a lot of the same flavors and maybe the same number of flavors. So that type of density, yes, but the richness, the density and richness of each individual flavor in that Remus is far superior to this. So with that, you can kind of justify the $80 or $100 for that bottle versus the $32 for this. However, at $32, this is outstanding and outcompetes many bottles, $50, $60, even $70. So if you are so lucky as to find a bottle of dry fly wheat whiskey finished in port barrels, I highly encourage you to go out, pick it up. It's an excellent bottle. Like I said, you know, up in Montana, $32.55. Please drop in the comments down below what you can find it for in your area. Dry Fly is a widely distributed brand, and so chances are you probably can find it on a shelf near you. So check that out. If you've had this, let me know what you think of it. Any other experiences you have with the Dry Fly lineup, I'd be curious to hear what you have to say. Yeah, I think that's all I got on this one. Anyways, thanks for watching. Greatly appreciate it. If you're watching this on Rumble, please go ahead and smash the Rumble button. Anywhere else, smash the like button. Share this content out with anybody who you think might find it interesting. Word of mouth is the only way that my channels are growing. So thank you very much to everybody who has subscribed so far. Subscriptions are going up. Like I said, I'm going to pull back from YouTube as far as the type of content. Whiskey reviews only are going to be on YouTube. Everything else, all other commentary, whatever else I happen to come up with, going to be out on Rumble, BitChute, and Minds. Check that out when I get around to that. Yeah. Final thought. Today was the last day of elk season here locally. Loaded up the gang. Me and my son and my dog. We jumped in the truck, drove up over the mountain. Didn't really get out and hunt. We were just road hunting. More or less just went for a nice drive because sun was rising. It was like supposed to be a high of 60 something today, not a cloud in the sky. A couple feet of snow up on the mountain, so made life a little bit interesting going through a couple of passes, about 9,000 feet. But you know what? We were just out having a good time, going for a drive. And if, God smiled on us and we just got lucky and saw an elk, great. But wasn't really the point of getting out. It was just fun to get out. So with that was the end of elk season. I hope if you are a hunter of some sort that so far you found success in whatever you're doing. Had a lot of fun this year. Looking forward to next year. Stay tuned for some of my other videos coming forward. We'll get into some of the information, tactics, gear, stuff that I use. Maybe you'll find it useful, maybe not. I don't know. There's a ton of other people who've already submitted that kind of information out there. But, if you like what I do, maybe you'll like some of that content and information as well. So, as always, thanks for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next video and have yourselves a great day. We'll catch you in the next video.